So, in this class we will discuss about operating system. In the previous classes we know that we learn about software. Softwares are basically of two types. Softwares are basically of two types: system software and application software. System software and application software. System softwares, the softwares which helps the system. Softwares which helps the system like operating system, translators, drivers, device drivers, etc. Basically, the system software help the system, because in order to use the system we should have the interface, we should have one interface. So, that interface or that communication between hardware, communication between hardware and the user, that is provided by some software, and these softwares are known as the system softwares. And application softwares, there are many application softwares that is based on application like word processor, spreadsheet software, that DBMS software. So, there are many application softwares. So, among these system software, what we are going to discuss here today is about this operating system. As I told, in some way this operating system as a system software makes a bridge between the user and the device, the system. It provides an interface between the user and the system. Other way we can say it is a backbone on which the system operates. There are many applications of operating system as a system software. There are many functions of operating system as a system software. We will discuss each one of them. If we say briefly, it helps in coordinating the activities of the user and sharing the resources of the system. And if categorically we will list out what are the applications, for what purpose the operating system is used in a system, we can say the functions of operating system. As we know that a system without any software is of no use, and the first and foremost software that is needed for a system to work with is this operating system. You may not have any application software, you may not have any other system software, but if you do not have at least this software operating system, then your system is not in a working condition. Nobody can use this system. So, in order to use the system, the first software that is loaded is operating system. And among all the responsibilities what are assigned to what are been taken care by the operating system, the initial activities when we power on the system, the first activity what the operating system does is to load the to check all the devices to check all the devices whether they are working properly or not. Now, if we list out all the functions of operating system, these are processor management, memory management, file management, and device management. There are many functions of operating system, but basically these are most of the important functions because of which we use operating system in every computer system. So, we will discuss one by one each of them. What is processor management or process management? A process is one active entity. Active entity means when a program in execution, we say that is a process. When an application is running, we say for that there is a process running on the background, and that is called a active entity or active, that is always active, that is running on the background. You do any activity by using a system, for that on the background or what we are not able to know is running, that is called a process. And processor management means if a system is running, there are many processes running. That depends on the type of system, operating system it is. There are single tasking operating system and multitasking operating system. Single tasking operating system means they can perform one job, they can take one responsibility at a time, and once a process is completed, then they start the other process, another process. Or one task, after completion of one task, they move to take the second task. Multitasking means there are multiple processors, or there is one processor that can handle more than one process at a time, or maybe there are multiple processors, they are responsible for processing more than one process at a time. Now, when there involves more than one process and there is one processor, there are many processes. Process, if I give an example what a process is, you open the browser and checking your mail, and you open the word processor, you give a print command. You open a IDE, programming IDE, and you are writing a program. So, if simultaneously all these applications are running, a browser is opened, the IDE, programming IDE, language IDE is opened, you are writing a program, and on the background you have given a print of 100 pages, that is also going on. That means there are 3 processes running at a time in the system, and if the system is having one processor, then how these 3 processes can simultaneously use the processor to carry on the task? To the user, it seems like all the processes, all these 3 tasks are simultaneously running to the user, but because there is one processor, there is a switching between the processes. There is a switching between the processes among these 3 processes. If I say there are 3 processes P1, P2, P3, P1, P2, P3, there are 3 processes. For the user, all these 3 processes are running simultaneously, but actually because there is only one processor, it cannot take all these processes at a time. Rather, it switches between these processes. It takes P1 first, then comes to P2, then comes to P3, from P3 again it moves to P1, from P1 it comes to P2, again from P2 to P3, it switches among the processes, and the switching among the processes is so fast in millisecond. Okay, the switching between the processes in millisecond or smaller than that, and because of which we are not able to identify that one process is stopping and another is starting. When P1 starts, P2, P3 are idle. When P2 starts, then P1, P3 are idle. When P3 starts, P1, P2 are idle, because there is only one processor that can take only one task at a time. Now, who is doing this switching and who is assigning this processor to, these processes to the processor? We open all the application, we open 3 tasks, I open 3 applications, I am working on all these 3, but on the background, on the system, in my system, there is a software, that is operating system, that is taking care of all these processes and the resource. Processor is one of the resource of my system, and that is why one of the responsibility of the operating system, we say, is resource management. This processor management, memory management, file management, device management, all these things, processor, memory, file, device, all are the resources of a computer system. All are the resources. There is a limited resource. There is 1 or 2 processor, there may be 1 or 2 processor, but there is a limitation, exactly how many. There is a capacity of memory, how much memory available, that the files are there, the devices connected to the system, that is to be taken care, what device driver needed for which device, and it is working properly or not, okay, and which device to be allocated for which process, for which task. So, all this management, resource management, that is why one of the vital responsibility of operating system, we say, if we see it as one unit, then we say it is resource management. So, processor management is one of them. Processor is the one of the vital resource of the computer system, and how that processor to be managed. There are multiple processes running, how only that one processor can able to run all these processes simultaneously. Because it is one processor, it can take only one task at a time. So, what it does is, it is switching from one process to another, and switching is so faster in milliseconds that the user is not able to identify, or user is not able to know that there is only one processor. It seems like there are many processes running in my system, but there is only one processor. So, this switching and the allocation of process to the processor, which process is to be allocated to the processor, next which process to be allocated, then next which process to be allocated, and after completion one of the process may be removed from the queue. A queue is maintained for that. If you will become IT professional, you are going to learn more about this management, all details. I am giving you just one idea what actually processor management is. There is a queue maintained in which these processes are there, and as the process is completed, once a process is completed, that is removed from the queue, and now these 2 processes will run and using the processor, one processor. So, this is called the processor management, and all these things on the background is being done by the operating system. Okay. Then comes the memory management. This is called memory management. The second type of responsibility, or the second type of function what an operating system does is memory management. So, when we say memory, computer memory, we mean the primary memory or the main memory. When we say computer memory, we mean the primary memory or the main memory. And there is always a limit how much primary memory or what is main memory available in a system, that there is a limit. It is not unlimited. Okay, maybe 4 GB, maybe 8 GB, maybe 16 GB, maybe 64 GB, but there is a limit how much memory available in a system. Now, what is the use of memory in a system? When you run different applications, when the application is opened, that is going to take some memory. Unless otherwise the application, basically all the applications and all the files, all the things are present, whatever in your system, we say these things are present, these files are present in my system, these softwares are present in my system, that means they are present permanently in the hard disk. They are present permanently in the hard disk, unless otherwise those applications, when we open the application is transferred to main memory or the primary memory of the computer, then we can able to work in that application. Unless otherwise it is transferred from hard disk to memory, main memory, we cannot use it. Okay, बांटी देलो भाई, काट देलो, तंट लगे भाई, करने दीजिए. So unless otherwise, application is loaded from hard disk to the memory, main memory, it will not be usable. The user cannot work on that. So that is why memory is very important. Now, and also while writing a program, you must have written programs, small programs using any programming language, or you may write programs in future. In programs also we declare some variables. Variables means some programming element which can hold some value, Now if we declare some variables that is going to hold values during the execution of the program, it is going to hold a value. Where those values will be stored? Those values are going to be stored in computer memory. Now memory management means, we say, what is memory management? It is decided, the computer memory is divided into bytes. Computer memory is divided into bytes, logically divided into byte or word. We say it is divided into byte or word, maybe of 8 bit or 16 bit, maybe of 8 bit or 16 bit or 32 bit. Okay, word length, this is called word length. The length of, we say, the entire memory is divided into, logically, into small segments. Each of the segment is called a byte or word, and there is a length of each of the word or the byte. It may be 8 bit, 16 bit, 32 bit. When it is 8 bit, we say it is 1 byte, the word length is 1 byte. When it is 16 bit, we say word length is 2 byte. When it is 32 bit, we say the word length is 4 byte accordingly. Now when the system is running, who is going to use the memory, system memory, and how much memory will be used by whom, that is been decided by the operating system. Among the entire memory, some portion of memory is assigned to the operating system or to the system. Some portion of memory is assigned to the system, and some other portion, the remaining portion of the memory is assigned to the user. So which part of the memory is assigned to the system and which part of the memory is assigned to the user for the applications, for user applications, that is decided by operating system. User can never access the memory that is assigned to the system, and system is never going to access the memory that is assigned to user. Now which part of memory is going to be used by system and user, that is been decided by the operating system. And memory to be allocated, and coming to the system memory. Now if multiple processors are running, then they also need memory for the execution. For running the processor, they also need memory. Now how much memory will be allocated and which part of the memory will be allocated for P1, which part of the memory will be allocated for P2, and which part of the memory will be allocated for P3, that will be decided by operating system. This is what mean by memory management. Allocation and deallocation of memory, this is called allocation and deallocation. When a process is running, memory is allocated to it. When a process is running, memory is allocated to it. When a process exit the queue, the job is done, the memory is deallocated. That is called deallocation. So this allocation and deallocation is made by the operating system. How much will be allocated to which process, that will be decided by the operating system, and which part of memory is to be used by the system and which part to be used by the user. All these managements are to be done by the operating system. This is called memory management. Next comes file management. The third function is called file management. Now what a file is? A file in computer system, a file, we say a set of related information or a group of related information. What a file is? A file is a group of related information stored in secondary storage and identified by a name, that is called the file name. Whenever we want to store some data, in a computer, we always have to store it in the secondary storage, in the permanent storage area, because when we are working in one application, when we are working in an application, we are running a program, we may use some variables or the application may consume some memory, primary memory or the main memory of the computer system, and once the application close or you exit the application, then whatever memory allocated to that application is been taken by or is been removed or is been vacated or deallocated, and that memory may be assigned to some other application. That is what during the period whatever you store, that you may lose if you do not save it as a file. Now if you want something to store permanently during the application, during working with the application, if you want some information to save permanently, those group of information you have to save by giving it a name and giving a location where in the disk, the secondary storage, you want to keep. That is called save. You want to save it. Now what role the operating system plays in file management is creation and deletion of files, mapping files into secondary storage, backing up files and storage on the system. These are all the file management. When you are going to open a file from the disk, the operating system is helping to bring the file open for you on behalf of the application. The file is present. The file is permanently present in a secondary storage device. The application, through the application you want to open the file. Now that file is opened because you may run any number of application, you may run different application, but ultimately who is going to interact with the resources of the system is operating system. You always are getting everything, we are always getting the help of all the devices of your system through the operating system. Okay. So this is called file management. Then next is device management. The last one, the last function of operating system, what we will see is device management. There are many devices attached to a system like input devices, output devices, device management. Input device, many input devices are attached, many output devices are attached to the system, and all different devices are attached. Now storage device also, we use pen drives or external CDs, DVDs, all that, okay, or we use input output devices, or we may connect some other external devices through Bluetooth or wireless to the system. So whatever devices that is connected to a system, the management of all the devices, because your system has limited resource, your system has limited memory, your system has limited processor, maybe one processor or two or three, limited number of processor, your system has a limited storage capacity, so everything is limited. So when the devices are connected to the system, which resource is to be used by which device and how long and how much of the resource is to be used by the device, that is been decided by the operating system. And every device, for every device there is a software that is called a device driver. These device drivers also run on the backbone of the operating system. Unless otherwise there is an operating system, you cannot install a device, you cannot connect a device to the system. For a device to be connected to a system, to be usable, it must have its device driver, that is another software, that is another utility software, system software. Every device has a device driver. That device has to be recognized by the operating system. Whenever a device is connected, it is going to check the device driver is available with the system or not. If it is not available, it will make download, or somewhere if you want to use it, you have to make it available. Then after making the device driver available, it check whether the device is working properly or not. OS will check, OS is going to check it is working properly or not. And if it is working properly, the driver is installed, then the device is workable. Then you can work with the device. And during the use of the device, whenever the device requests for the use of the resources of the system, that is also made available by the operating system when and whenever it is required. Okay. So these are all the functions of operating system. In brief, these are the functions of operating system. Then we will move to types of operating system. What are the types of operating system available? Okay. Operating system is a system software required for any device to be usable, for any operating device. That may be a laptop, that may be a tablet, that may be a mobile, that may be a desktop, or any handheld device. Even every remote has also one operating system. Maybe that is small, but it has an operating system. So any device, electronic device that is automated, or something is been automated in that device, for that it needs an operating system. So we say it is the backbone of any handheld device, electronic device, operating system. Now according to the use of the operating system and according to different characteristics, there are different types of operating system. We say the types of operating system, the types. Now according to the user interface, what type of interface the operating system provides to the user, what type of interface the operating system provides to the user. According to that, there are two operating system, we can say there are two types, CUI and GUI. Character user interface or command user interface, we can say anything, character or command user interface. It means anything you want to do, any instruction you want to give to the operating system, that you can give by writing a command set of character. That is why this interface is known as CUI or character user interface or command user interface. And the examples of these operating systems are disk operating system, DOS, or Unix, and Unix. DOS and Unix. These are two CUI interface or command user interface operating system. For every operation, whatever in some way the operating system is going to help you to use the system. So whatever the system you require from the system, for that if you want to give the instruction, then the instruction you can give in the form of a command, a set of character. You have to remember a lot of commands in order to use a system if one of these operating system is loaded into that. Then comes the GUI, graphics user interface. GUI, this is called graphical user interface. Graphical user interface. Graphical user interface means you don't have to remember the commands, you don't have to remember the set of characters that is known as commands for every operation. You will find interactive screen, you will find one interactive screen. You can use the input device, that is mouse, and instead of writing a command, you just can select one or more pictures on the screen to give the instruction. So the instruction, if you want to give the instruction, those instructions are in the form of pictures, in the form of graphics. You don't have to remember, you just have to click on that picture, or you double click on the picture to give your instruction, to give whatever you want to let the OS know that what you want to perform or what you want to do. Okay. So that interface is called graphical user interface, and the most popular operating system of graphical user interface that supports graphical user interface is Windows. We will discuss in detail about these operating systems. I am giving the example of graphical user interface, that is Windows, Linux or Linux, we say Linux and Windows. These are some GUI operating system, graphical user interface operating system. Then comes a type of operating system that is called real time operating system. Real time operating system, RTOS, real time operating system. Real time operating system. What is the significance of these operating systems? These are multitasking operating systems that aims at executing real time operations. Real time operations, for example, the control of nuclear power plant, oil refining, chemical processing, traffic signaling system. These are real time applications or real time applications where the operating systems are used. In these applications, time is very important. A fraction of millisecond is important where a task is to be performed, and in those applications the operating system that is used is known as RTOS or real time operating system. What the operating system is doing, that is different, but the job should be done in exact time or in the real time that is assigned to it. Okay. Then comes single user system. Now how many users can use the operating system? Based on that, how many users can use the system? Based on that, there are two types of operating system: single user operating system and multi user operating system. Types of user, number of user, it depends on number of user. How many users at a time can work, or can the operating system accommodate, can the operating system handle at a time? Accordingly, there are two types: single user OS and multi user OS. In a single user operating system, only one user can work at a time. It is there in one system and one user can work on it. But in a multi user system, an example of single user system is DOS. DOS or MS DOS, we can say, the operating system, it is MS-DOS is not, it is one application, it is not operating system we say. If you say DOS is the operating system, it is a single user operating system. If there is only one application and one operating system DOS and there is one system, then only one user can work on it. Now, what is a multi-user operating system? Operating system that can be used by more than one user. It is installed on a server, it is installed on one device, the operating system is working on one device, many resources are connected and there are many users connected to this system, and all the systems, all the users sitting at different places and connected to this system are going to use the operating system. It is like this. This is one system, we say it is a server, and the clients are connected to this. Number of clients are connected to this: client 1, client 2, client 3, client 4, client 5. There are many number of clients, there are many users, these clients are the users. They are connected to this and there is one operating system running on this system, that is called a server. There is one operating system running on this system, that is called a server, and that operating system can handle all these users. They do not have individual OS. This client 1, client 2, client 3, client 4, client 5, they are connected to the server and they do not have individual OS. They are connected to this server and getting the service from this server. In some way or other, they are getting the service of this server, and the operating system loaded here is a multi-user operating system. More than one user can all at a time work on this operating system, and this operating system can handle more than one user at a time. They can take requests, they can take the instruction of more than one user at a time and can perform the tasks for them. And the example of multi-user operating system is Windows and Unix, Linux also. These are all examples of multi-user operating system. Okay. Then coming to next, another thing, the mainframe computers. As we know, different types of computers are there. The mainframe computers are basically use the multi-user operating system. The mainframe computers basically use the multi-user operating system. Mainframe computers are basically the not less than the supercomputers, though they are not the supercomputers, but they are high-end systems. They have much more capability than the desktops or the laptops we use, and they can handle more than one user. Hundreds or thousands of users, they can work on one mainframe system, mainframe computer, and all the users can connect it to this one mainframe computer at a time. And the operating system that is loaded on such type of system is called a multi-user operating system that can handle more than one user at a time. Okay. Then comes how many tasks the operating system can handle at a time. Accordingly, how many tasks it can handle at a time. In the types of operating system we are discussing, there are two types of operating system again: single tasking and multitasking. Single tasking OS and multitasking OS. The example I gave, the example before this, the example I gave while explaining the functions of operating system, that operating system is a multitasking operating system. That means it can take more than one task at a time. It can handle more than one task, like P1, P2, P3. There are more than one task. There are three processors. There are three processes running on a single processor. So when one operating system can manage more than one task, and each of the task is in the form of a process, those operating systems are called multitasking operating system. But there are some operating systems like DOS, they can handle only one task at a time. If there is a processor P1, let P1 finish, then P2 will start. Let P2 finish, then only P3 start. As long as P1 is running, P2 cannot start, and as long as P2 is running, P3 cannot start. Only after completion of P1, P2 will start. But in a multitasking OS, P1, P2, P3 all run simultaneously, and switching between them occurs, P1 to P2, P2 to P3, again P3 to P1. So, switching occurs from P1 to P3 or any number of processors. So, multiple tasks can perform at a time. So, accordingly different multitasking operating systems are there and single tasking operating systems are there. DOS is one of the single tasking operating system, the only single tasking operating system. All other operating system like Windows, Linux, Unix, all are multitasking operating system. They can handle more than one task at a time. Then another type of operating system is called distributed operating system. Distributed operating system. Distributed operating system. Another type of operating system is called distributed operating system. What happens in case of distributed operating system? There is one server and the clients are connected to the server, or there is no one server. There are computers, there are systems at different geographical region. They are not in one campus, they are not connected in one LAN or in one networking, in one of the environment. They are present at different geographical location in remote areas. This system is present somewhere in some country, this system is present in another country, this is present in another, this is present in another country. Now, each of the system is loaded with operating system. Each of the system is loaded by one operating system. And this operating system, what is loaded among all these, and these systems are connected to each other. These systems are connected to each other. They are present at geographically different locations, at remote locations. They are connected to each other and they share the resources available with them. This system can share the resources available with them, with the other system. They are connected means they are going to share the resources with the other system. And any user sitting here, some resource is here, R1 is here, R2 is here. If suppose say R3 is another resource here, resource means maybe a file, maybe a device, or maybe anything, whatever it is, okay, maybe some storage space. So, I say, so if suppose R1 is available here, resource 1 is available here, resource 2 is available with this system, resource 3 is available here, resource 4 is available here. So, the person sitting at this place, the person sitting at this place, if it needs the resource 4, if the person sitting here needs resource 4, he can easily get it without knowing that the resource is not available with him, but rather it is available at a different geographical location. It seems to him like every resource is present with him. The environment is like that. One operating system manages all these resources. It seems to each of the users sitting individually at this place feels like all the resources are available at one place, but actually the resources are shared and they are present at different geographical location, and that is being maintained by one operating system, that is called OS, distributed OS. Okay. Similarly, if I say there is a user here R3, he has the resource R3, now he needs the resource R1, he also can get R1. Maybe through R2 or R4 he also can get R1. Now, the person sitting here, it feels to him like the resource R1 is available with him, but it is actually not available with him, it is somewhere at some remote places, but when it requests for R1, then that is made available to him. Okay. That is the responsibility of distributed OS, and it works in these environments. Okay. Then we will see some commonly used operating systems, examples of some commonly used operating systems. Examples of operating systems. We will discuss about some of the operating systems like commonly used operating systems. So, we will discuss about some of the commonly used operating systems like Unix, okay, Linux. We will discuss about Unix, how this operating system is what type of operating system is, and who developed this operating system, and for what purpose it is developed, and how it is used nowadays. Linux, then Windows, and then we will discuss about Solaris, Oracle Solaris operating system, and then we will discuss about BUS operating system. Then we will discuss about some mobile OS, mobile operating system, some of the mobile operating systems. Okay. So, these are the operating systems we will discuss. Let us start with Unix. Let us start with this operating system Unix. This is a multi-user multitasking operating system. This is a multi-user multitasking. Multiple, it can handle multiple users at a time, and it can take multiple tasks at a time. It can perform multiple tasks simultaneously. Okay. It was developed in early 1970s. It was developed in early 1970s at Bell Laboratory of AT&T, at Bell Lab of AT&T of United States of America, and the persons who developed this operating system are a group of person involved in developing this operating system, and two persons lead the group, that is Ken Thompson. Two persons lead that group, that is Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie. Two persons lead that group who develops this operating system Unix in the early 1970s at Bell Laboratory of AT&T, United States of America, and these two persons lead that group who developed this operating system Unix. And purely this operating system is entirely developed by using one of the programming language, that is called C. C programming language is used for developing this operating system, and as the C programming language is a portable language, with a little change or no change you can run any program in C with the in other system. Similarly, Unix can be installed on any system. It is a very portable operating system. Okay. Then comes next operating system is Linux. Linux operating system, it is a free open source software. It is a free open source. What is the meaning of free? You do not have to pay any cost. If you are going to get Linux, you can get it freely downloaded from web, and it is open source. The source of this, the source code of this operating system is available with you. That is why there are many versions of Linux available in market. There are many versions of Linux available in market nowadays. Ubuntu, Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu Linux are some of the examples. Whoever get the open source, he changed the operating system according to him. He changed the operating system Linux according to him, according to his environment, and make that a version. So that all those versions are based on this Linux operating system. Okay. This is a free and open source. That is why it is called open source. Closed source means the source will not be provided to you. Only the operating system will be provided, the software will be provided to you without the source code. Open source means the software is provided with the source. You can change the source according to you. Okay. Then next, it was developed in April of 1991. It was developed in the year 1991 in the month of April, and the person who developed, he is Linus Torvald. The person who developed this, he was a student, computer science student in the University of Helsinki. In the University of, he was a computer science student in the University of Helsinki in Finland. In the country Finland, in the University of Helsinki, this person, he was a computer science student. He developed this operating system, that is in the year 1991 in the month of April. And then let us come to this, the Windows operating system, and this is also a multi-user multitasking operating system. Linux is also a multi-user multitasking operating system. Then comes Windows, the most popular operating system, and 90% of the operating system used, or 90% of the computer system now use Windows as the operating system. Okay. So it was developed, the first version of Windows was developed in the year 1985 in the November 20th November 1985, and it is based on the DOS operating system. The first version of Windows that was developed is 20th November in 1985 it was released, and it is based on DOS operating system. DOS operating system के ऊपर ये एक Windows application था, ये कोई OS नहीं था. It was not an OS, but it is used as an application, and it is based on the operating system DOS. Then gradually the version improve and it comes as an operating system individually, and now there are three versions available for Windows. One for the desktop version, another one is a server version, and another is a mobile, for the mobile also, mobile version. So desktop version, the latest desktop version is Windows 10. The latest server version is Windows Server 2019, Windows Server 2019, and the latest mobile version is Windows 10, Windows Mobile 10. It is Windows 10 Mobile. These are the latest versions, and it is used in the desktop. The Windows is operated. Why it is popular? Why it is used in 90% of the computer systems? Because it can be used in desktops, it can be used in servers, it can be used in mobiles also. In all this type of systems, this can be used as an operating system. That is why it is most popular. And then comes the Solaris operating system. Solaris operating system. It was developed by Solaris operating system. It was now maintained by Oracle Corporation. It was now maintained by Oracle Corporation, and that is why it is known as Oracle Solaris. And the latest version of Solaris is Solaris 10. Oracle Solaris. It is now maintained by Oracle Corporation. Oracle Corporation. It was initially developed by Sun Microsystem. It was initially developed by Sun Microsystem, but when Sun Microsystem is taken by Oracle, is been taken over by Oracle, then it becomes Oracle Solaris 10. The latest version is 10. And then we will discuss about some mobile operating system. The most popular mobile operating system is Android. Mobile OS, these are known as mobile OS. These operating systems are used with any handheld device, laptop, tablet, okay, all these things. And three of the operating system we will discuss here: Android and Symbian and that is iOS. We will discuss about these three. Now Android is most popular operating system, mobile operating system used in most of the mobile devices, and it was based on Linux operating system. And it is led by Google. It is been developed and maintained by a group of 86 organizations. A group of 86 organizations is taking care of this operating system for maintaining and for the development and maintenance of this operating system, and it is led by Google Corporation. Okay. Then called Symbian. Symbian is the operating system that is maintained by Accenture. It is maintained by Accenture Corporation, and basically it is used in Nokia handheld devices, mobile devices. This operating system is used. And the last type is iOS. iOS is the operating system that is maintained by Apple Inc., and it is used in Apple mobile phones. And the latest version of iOS, what is available, that is iOS 13.x, that means 13.x 0.1, 2, 3, the series is going on now 13.x. Okay, so this is all about some of the operating systems available nowadays, and this is all about operating systems. Thank you.